Let's get started and people can kind of trickle in as we get going. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us for what is sadly our final session here with MKE Food School. I just want to first off say thank you to everyone that will be joining us both on Zoom and on Facebook Live, and especially giant thank you to Andy and Jen and all of the participants who've been a part of the MKE Food School series that we've been hosting on our Cloud Cafe. We're super happy to have Jason here from Heaven's Table Barbecue, who makes some of the best brisket I've ever had in the city and maybe anywhere. So we'll get kicked off right now.
Thanks, Rita. Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Shaka with the MKE Food School. I'm super excited, just like Rita said, to wrap up what's been an incredible series of sessions with Jason Alston of Heaven's Table Barbecue. We've got folks streaming in, as Rita said. I wanted to give a special shout out to chef instructor Mike DeWeese at the New England Culinary Institute, who is watching with his entire class of aspiring chefs and food business leaders. So hello to all of you. Thanks for being here with us. I also, as always, want to acknowledge and just share my love and appreciation for Jennifer Bortolotta, who is here. Jennifer is instrumental to the leadership team of the MKE Food School, and I just so appreciate her support and her voice, and I'm just very grateful that she's here. She's co-facilitating today. A little later today, we're also going to get the pleasure of our favorite local judge, Derek Mosley, who I think introduces so many of us to so many great places within the city that we can eat and support and enjoy the food. I know he's a big fan, Jason, of your food, and I'm sure that we're going to have a great conversation when he joins us as well. But just to kind of kick things off, if Jason, you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what we're going to see today and kind of, how things are going for you. I know you've got a big announcement that we can share, some good news. So I'm just going to put myself on mute and kick it over to you for the time being, and then we'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me first of all.
We can, thank
you. Kind of hard with the Batman mask on,
I
right?
know.
So, my name is Jason Alston. I own Heaven's Table Catering and Barbecue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And basically, you culinary students, I was in your shoes at one point. I went to culinary school at a local technical college here. And I went for culinary arts and hospitality, and it was something I knew I wanted to do, and in doing so, took a little sacrificing along the way. It takes a little sacrificing along the way to get to you where you want to be. At the moment I knew I wanted to do culinary, I had a choice to work at a restaurant making $8.50 or working at the airport making $12. And so I could easily made the decision to make the most money, but I knew where my heart was and what I ultimately wanted to do. So I sacrificed that, and I sacrificed that pay cut to actually follow what my dream is, and that was to be a chef and owner. And so got my culinary degree at MATC. I ended up getting a job there before I graduated, being a culinary assistant. So I was actually helping with procurement, food costs, knife cuts, soup stock sauces, whatever somebody needed a one-on-one with, I was the help for them, which was awesome for me because it taught me how to practice the things you learn in culinary school, which is, socializing with people. And pretty much as an executive chef or a chef, period, you're not only dealing with customers, you have to be able to deal with employees with different learning techniques and mentalities. So you have to be able to adjust to all of it. After that, I got my bachelor's degree in business management and science at Cardinal Stretch University a few years ago, and kind of one of my proudest achievements. It took to my last hour to pass. It was a lot, trying to work and get a bachelor's and fast track and all that type of stuff. So it's not impossible. I'm here to tell you it's not. And so after that, I became an executive chef for Surge Group. I had the opportunity to work under some famous chefs here, Justin Carlisle, Kurt Fugel, Jackie Woods, and Jarvis Williams. If you think about it, all of us were under one roof at one time. It's like was a dream team in the making, you know, and to be able to learn from them really helped me get to where I am now. And the approach you have to take is that you don't know anything. You got to be like a sponge when it comes to the culinary aspect of everything. Because when you feel like you know it all, you're not going to work out in the kitchen. Because then you're not listening to what you're being told. You're not going to learn anything. So even now, you know, where I'm at now as an owner, you know, I still approach everything that way. So after working with Justin, I became an executive chef at Mikey's and turned Mikey's concept over into barbecue because there was a rumor going around that I was pretty good at it. So the owner actually tested me out doing his insurance company's Christmas party. So I was able to display the menu there, and everybody liked it, so he allowed me to change the menu, and that's how I learned how to practice everything I learned in culinary school, making the menu, costing everything out, figuring out what I needed to charge, what do I charge employees, where most of my cost is coming from, like all these things came into play at that moment. And so after working at Mikey's, a position opened up at Marquette University for an executive chef, and I took that position. And then barbecue followed me there. So it's like everywhere I went, barbecue was following, and it was basically destiny that slapped me in the face like, dude, you're supposed to be smoking meat. So, and the owners of the Crossroads Collective, where my restaurant is, approached me about doing barbecue. And at first I was nervous, like, man, I don't know, my wife is probably gonna kill me. You got a newborn, you know, you're gonna leave a salary job to open up your own business. I just felt like, you know, let me pray on it and things like that. And so I felt like either I'm gonna do it or I'm not. You don't want to miss out on the opportunity that could change your whole dynamic, you know, your career. And so the first day was confirmation. I have pictures of all I saw was hands reaching for food, you know, the first day, and it almost brought a tear to my eye. It was like, this is what I envisioned of my style of barbecue here in the city. So, and Judge, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, could you, for the people who are watching from elsewhere, could you explain a little bit about what it's like to work in a food hall with fellow purveyors? And, you know, because Crossroads Collective is a food hall, and it's all local restaurants. But I know that people would love to hear a little bit about that, and then also about your experience in becoming a pitmaster, because that's just incredible.
So working amongst other restaurants is pretty good. It could be hard getting your stuff back at the end of the night because there's only one dishwasher, and we separate our equipment by tape color. So sometimes the tape gets worn off and we didn't wash, and we lose our product that way. But you know, we've all become like a family, and we don't mind if somebody else has stuff that we can use to discover it. But it's unique. You actually learn different techniques in cooking other things by the different choices of food options here. So I've learned how to do crispy pork. You know, I knew of it, but I never knew how to do it. Now I know how to do it. So it's a lot of things that you can learn here. It was a little weird in the beginning because none of us knew what was going to happen. You know, if you got one person come in and you have to decide through 6 or 7 different food options. And so, okay, pick me. But ultimately, I knew coming in that if people can actually see you making product, they're more likely to buy it. You know, for one, they like that action, and for two, they actually are seeing you, handle their food. It's not, I'll be right back with you, So that was the concept I was shot for.
I also want to acknowledge that Judge Mosley's with us. Hi, Judge. How are you?
Oh. Good. How are
Good.
you?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
What's up, Jason?
Beautiful. Just how I envisioned you. So is that like a green room, or are you really there?
No, man, I'm at home.
Oh man.
Yeah, we do court virtually, man. Court's
okay. Nice.
For those who are watching, as I said at the top of the hour, I think Judge Mosley is personally responsible for opening the palates of
yeah.
most of Milwaukee. He is incredible at sharing his favorite dishes and meals, and he's always going out and supporting the local restaurant community. We're so excited to have you with us, Judge. Thank you for making time.
Oh, Andy, thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is my passion, food.
100%. Yeah.
And I've learned so much from, what's so great about, coming from Chicago, what's so great about Milwaukee is that I met Jason and immediately he was like, oh, let me show you how we do this. Let's do this. What do you think about this? And we had just met. And I was like, this is the community I want to be a part of, right? It's great.
Yeah.
And Judge, just so you know, we also have an entire culinary class watching with us today from the New England Culinary Institute.
Oh, hey.
So hello to everyone there. They may have some questions for us. But I'm going to go on mute for a bit and Jason, just let you talk and walk us around. And I know Jen Bortolotta is here. She's going to ask a few questions too, but let's do the part where you kind of tell us about your space and we'll just let the conversation unfold.
All right, cool. So I'll
Thanks.
do a little tour here. So this is my area. I'm going to hop off for a second. And this is pretty much where everyone does our studies. So this is where I keep the food, the warmers. Some of the sides are in this area back here. I know it looks a little clustered. but we just got a shipment in today. We should have to organize it. This is the kitchen. Is everybody able to see?
Yep.
We are,
Okay.
yes.
So this is the kitchen. This is egg and flour. Hello. And so he's doing pasta production right here. And everybody has their own section. So this section from the cooler to this part is egg and flour prep area. We all share the sink here, the prep sink. And then egg and flour has this area as well. Use somebody's lunch right here and somebody else's lunch right there. But this is Frida, which they do soup and sandwiches, and this is their production. Their double boilers, things like that for warming soup stuff. So this is also stuff, which is Laotian food. He's actually prepping sticky rice, deep fried sticky rice cakes. This pile over here that looks like it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa is my wood for my smoker. Definitely gonna straighten it out a little better than that. It was a little moist in the kitchen this week, and kind of solved the boxes up. So I'm finding a new safer way to stack it up. Please don't judge me culinary folks.
This is such a great learning opportunity. I think it's amazing.
So around this corner, this is my stove, my smoker. This is my also sham that I keep my meat in. And I keep it at 140, between 130 and 140, so it can hold pretty well. So in here would be brisket, ribs. These are individually wrapped cornbread. One is jalapeno cheddar and one is regular. Backup brisket. These are ribs here, individually boiled. And then at the bottom, I have another backup brisket because we sliced so much of it. And then
we actually have a question, if you don't mind, from our the Culinary Institute. They would like to know if there is a specific Milwaukee style of barbecue.
That is, and I think Judge can agree, that is to be determined still. So I think the great thing about us is we don't have any standards here. So it's pretty much free game if somebody figures it out and everybody agrees that this is what we represent. So me and my staff are working diligently to get those bragging rights.
And I'm gonna concur with Jason. I think there's certain things, like for instance that Jason does that no one else in the city is doing, right? So he's doing the turkey burnt ends, right? Yep. You don't even think about it here in the city, but he's doing the turkey burnt ends. He's doing the smoked salmon on Fridays, because we're Milwaukee, so we're a Friday fish fry kind of place. But so he's smoking he's smoking that salmon, and it's dynamite. And so you have also our buddy Adam over at Iron Great. He does his own form of the Milwaukee rib.
Milwaukee rib, yep.
Yeah, which is more with the pork belly type. So those are the only two that are doing their own kind of ribs, their own barbecue, I would say. But that uniqueness, it just makes it different. I mean, you can get brisket places, you can get ribs places, but you ain't getting turkey smoked in, bird. You ain't getting salmon, smoked salmon. Just those things just make it different from everywhere else. So I concur with you, Jason. We're still trying to work it out, right? But
yep,
I like the fact that you're an innovator with it.
Yep. And what I did do, and I apologize in advance, is I actually did a pastrami. I took a quart and a half of water out, and I put some Lakefront Brewery beer in it, some citrus Lakefront Brewery beer, and I let it sit for 7 days. It was dynamite. But I wanted to test it out before I was able to let other people do it, because I wanted to make sure it's how it is. But you may be on to something.
That
sounds
pastrami
amazing.
is fire.
There's a follow-up question too from the chef instructor for the class, and he said that they're just finishing up a taste of place course. So he was wondering if you could share a little bit, and Judge, I would invite you to jump in too, about how the foods in Milwaukee, or the foods that you're preparing, represent who we are as a community, who you are as a chef and a barbecue master, and kind of how we see ourselves within the world right now, which is a big question, right? But obviously, you know, Milwaukee definitely is a community not only that is incredibly strong already, but definitely on the rise. And so how would you see kind of what you're doing and what you're adding to the community and what you're doing in terms of just culinary innovation as part of that larger conversation?
I want to say that Milwaukee is on its way to being more diverse in the food sense than it ever has been. And I want to thank Justin's one of the ones that kicked it off too with the ramen spot, because nobody was doing it. And I remember when he first started doing it on Tuesday nights at Umamimoto, and he would never show anybody how to broth. Like, the broth would be made before we even got there, because he didn't want anybody to know how he made it. So he kind of opened up people's palate to something different, because I knew nothing but packaged ramen before that. So I think our goal as for me is giving people a taste of what I grew up eating. And I think that's probably in the hearts of anybody that is opening a restaurant. Like, your go-to has to be what you're comfortable with cooking, comfortable sharing people's cooking. Like, I remember Kurt told me, what's your favorite dish? And I told him broccoli, beef and broccoli, the Chinese dish. He was like, okay, well, then make the best beef and broccoli possible. And so I did it. They put it on the menu. But what that told me was, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you know how to do it and introduce it to the world. So I think Milwaukee, we're it's a German town. A lot of meat and potatoes, a lot of sausages, a lot of cheese, obviously. So I think we're just now getting to the point in the last few years where we're getting more diverse in the food aspect.
Thank you for that answer. Judge Mosley, I know you said and shared with everyone that, you know, Milwaukee is a place you've come to call home, but when you think about what you've seen, what are some of the things you're most excited about that we could maybe celebrate today together? Yeah.
So Andy, when I first moved here, the Milwaukee food scene was very, very different. You know, I mean, when I first moved here, it was the Bartolotta's are putting out great food, and there wasn't a whole lot else going on. It was just, you know, there were a lot of chain restaurants and not a lot of locally owned places that were putting out great food. And we're an interesting group as Wisconsinites in the sense that we are very attached to our routines. And so, and I think that's like the Friday fish fry thing, right? So,
right.
So people were like, it's Friday, I got to have a fish fry. And I go to, you know, Kegel's for a fish fry, or always go to wherever it may be your place. And we are very loyal to our places. And I think once the food started to become more diverse, and the Justins and the Jasons and the Chef Hawks and the Kurt Fogels and all these people started coming onto the scene and just blowing up the food scene, people realize I can't be this way anymore. I have to try it out. And it's so nice to not be like, well, I really feel we're celebrating something. And so we got to drive down to Chicago. Those days are over. I mean, people from Chicago are coming up here.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely love that we are perfectly situated between Minneapolis and Chicago, so that if you're getting to either of those places, you're coming right through us, which we get a lot of exposure that way. And it's been great.
That's so true. You called out the Bortolatas, and we've got, of course, Jen on the call. So Jen, I'm going to ask you to just touch on some of the things we were talking about before we went live with Jason about, how organizations like Crossroads Collective and the work that Jason is doing really does give a community that is hurting a whole lot of hope right now. So I know you had some comments there, and I'm just going to pitch it over to you if you don't mind.
Yeah, you bet. First, hey, Judge, how we doing today, man?
You just made my heart so happy just to see your face.
It's so good to see your face, dude. I just want to grab it. Sorry, everybody. We have a very professional, friendly relationship outside.
That's
of
the truth. Love you.
Love you too, man. So for people who are on the call, particularly the students, and I didn't know you were going to be here, but I'm really excited that you are. I think that there are ways to pursue being in this business, particularly if you have an idea and you have a passion for something and you want to deliver it and you want to do it on your own. I am all for that. That's how my husband started his business a little less than 30 years ago. But it doesn't always have to be with a brick and mortar location. And I think particularly right now, there's so many people who have been displaced, at least temporarily. But, if you look at the realities of our industry, we're going to have to find a different way to be able to engage in this space, at least short term, and be a little bit creative. And so having an idea and doing something like participating in a collective where the cost to entry and the barriers to entry are far less than doing it on your own is one real creative way to do it. The other is that there are all kinds of shared kitchens. I got to believe if it's happening in Milwaukee, it's happening everywhere else, where you can purchase time. It's kind of like a timeshare, but instead of a house, it's a kitchen. And you can purchase time in one of these community kitchens to produce your product and then to sell it. I have no doubt, at least in Milwaukee, with the success of the outdoor summers farmers markets and how they have found to be able to support the farmers in a way that's still safe for the public and for the farmers, that we're going to look to do that. We all can't spend the winter inside. And I think that farmers markets are also a great way to do it. I regularly go to the South Shore Market, and there's a popcorn company from the Sherman Phoenix who has a tiny 10 by 10 stand, and he sells out almost every Saturday. So I think that we're going to find a way as a community to continue to support those types of low barrier to entry, low cost to entry places for you to be able to peddle your product. And I encourage you, if you have a passion about this industry, don't give up on it because of what you see right now, but try to collaborate with others and find a way to pursue your dream in a way that's is less wrought with all the things that stop us pre-COVID from getting into it.
Thank you, Jen. Jason, I know that this, is a hard time for everyone in the industry, but you're actually preparing to launch a new venture, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So, prayerfully by the fall, I'm going to say late October, early November, we'll be opening up on 55th and North Avenue, right like borderline Tulsa area. And so I'm super excited about that. I've always wanted to be in Wauwatosa. Wauwatosa has always been home for me as an adult, whether living there or just always, communing with the community there. very, very diverse area. Really, really love the support that they give restaurants. And just any restaurant in that area, they make sure they do their due diligence to make sure that they support it. So,
Yeah, I think it speaks to that idea of still having hope, right? And just continuing to move forward. And you have such a fantastic business model, and you've earned such an incredible reputation in the community, and you build everything on this idea of trust. You have incredible credentials. One of the questions came in from the class, and it was just, how has COVID impacted the way in which you have to do business? Obviously, you're in a mask, right? We wouldn't normally have that. But, you know, what are some of the other ways that you've adapted?
So we've allowed only mask entry, so people have to wear masks when they come in. We also put up, I don't know if you can see them, it's like a plexi, plexiglass. So kind of separates close interaction with customers. We've spread out tables. You can see here, they're pretty spread out far apart. And I'll walk through the hall because every station has these barriers that separate customers from the employees. So see how far spread out the tables are.
Yeah, definitely.
And what we do is we tell the customers to leave the trash on the tables, and the dishwasher come through and know that he has to sanitize that area. So we're constantly sanitizing everything. We have these sanitizer stands all over the place where people can come in and sanitize right away before they even touch anything in here. And then for us, during the COVID months, in January, I had just purchased a cargo van. I didn't know what I needed it for. I just knew I was tired of beating my truck up. And so what ended up happening is we were able to offer curbside and delivery. So I actually used that truck to deliver a lot of items to people's homes. And I think if it ever happened again, which prayerfully it doesn't, I think we're able to adjust more in the restaurant community because no one ever had to prepare for curbside. No one ever had to prepare for contactless delivery or contactless whatever. And I think we're kind of more prepared some of us are more prepared to handle it now. And barbecue is one of those things that's stand the test of time since the beginning. So it's something everybody loves. And it's one of those things that it travels well, it reheats well if they ever came down to it. Good product.
Now, you are also part of a family that's done this, right? I mean, that's part of your legacy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yep, I'll show you because I'll make sure I put the pictures up everywhere we are. So this is my grandparents. And they stayed they're from Tennessee. They moved up to Milwaukee, and that's how we got here. And this is my uncle, and you can see his picture right next to a grill anyway. I don't know how long ago this picture was, but I just always like that picture of him. But I learned a lot of my concepts and techniques through them. Although my granddad would throw anything on the grill that was walking, whether it was possum or anything. He was Southern, so he would eat anything that moved. It grossed me out. I remember one time he was cooking something on the stove, and just the pot up, and like the skull came floating to the top, like ran off the room. So I didn't know what it was, but so very exotic eaters, and I think that's where I get it from also. But they taught me a lot. They were grillers. I had to teach myself how to smoke, and that's probably one of the hardest things. Maintaining a proper amber bed that was a certain temperature, however you want to smoke it. I had to make sure that I had that in place. So the first brisket I ever smoked was, I used every wood known to man, like orange wood, I used hickory, I used mesquite, everything. And I never wrapped it. I still have a picture of it, like a red baseball, and like when I bit into it, it tastes like tree bark. So there's a lot of trial and error when it came to barbecue. So I did a lot of reading, a lot of studying, and a lot of trial and error. Pretty much got me here. I also did a cheap barbecue competition and act like I didn't know anything to learn some things too.
I think the trial and error is something that in the previous sessions of the Milwaukee Food School and the NEWaukee Cloud Cafe, Jen, you've talked about is not being afraid, right? To get in there and experiment and trust, your sense of flavor profiles. Jason, would you say that there's something that is, kind of like your next frontier, like something you really want to do that you're excited about, or maybe some new method? Judge Mosley talked about the things that you do that no one else is doing, and they are delicious. But yeah, what's your next exciting adventure for that?
So I have a couple of announcements that I'm legally not able to talk about yet.
Understood.
But,
okay.
it's not me, it's the people that I'm working with.
Okay.
I could probably tell you off air.
Sure.
Judge and Andy, and I could probably tell you guys off air, but
we're in for a treat though, right? A legally binding treat.
I've been actually experimenting with goat ribs. I know it sounds weird, but smoking takes the gaminess out of pretty much anything. Even out of turkey. Turkey is pretty strong, but when I smoke those turkey tips, you couldn't even tell it was turkey. So that smoker does some things to meat. Smoking does some things to meat that are exceptional. So I've been tampering with that. I'm probably actually doing jerk leg of lamb this week. So
Wow.
And I may have some more things soon.
Judge Mosley, do you have some requests?
No, I just wanted. I didn't mean to go off put my camera back on. I was just wiping my keyboard from drool.
So if you're thinking about, kind of like the next year to 2 years, what would be some of your hopes for us as a community in terms of ways that we can uplift the restaurant community and uplift the community in general using food? What would you like to see happen here at home in Milwaukee to make it a stronger place for people working in the food system?
I had this conversation with a couple people, and it reminded me of the recession a few years back. And I noticed something that the people that own KFC and Taco Bell did. They actually merged together. That's how you got a lot of them, KFC, Taco Bells in the same location. I think what's going to have to happen is something similar. People are going to have to probably come together and whether it's merge concepts or just come together and create something. It's going to take more than one person to get out of it, and especially for restaurants that are like 7-8 course meal places. Like those are the ones hurting the most. Barbecue is easy carry out. You don't have to necessarily dine in to eat it, but the places that you do to get the full experience, I just think there's going to have to be some collaborating and some sticking together if they want to survive.
Yeah, collaboration over competition always, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Now, I have another question, and it says, full disclosure, this is coming from a student in Chicago. But one of the students that NEWaukee would like to know from you, Jason, and you, Judge Mosley, what is different about Milwaukee cuisine, and how would it be differentiated from Chicago cuisine? What are your opinions on that?
Well, I'll tell you.
You go first.
I'll go first real quick. So price, let's start there. Okay. And you could just say that about Chicago and Milwaukee in general. I mean, whether it's housing, whether it's food, whether it's just in general, the price is different. And so there are a number of items in dining, fine dining, that many people couldn't even afford to do in Chicago because it's just a price point that's out of their range. Whereas in Milwaukee, we realize that we are, we're Milwaukee. We're blue collar. We're, salt of the earth people, and we might not have the money to have these lavish meals, but so we have to take into consideration these people still want to eat that food. So it's very nice to have the ability to go and have a great meal and not spend $500 while you're having that meal. Make it affordable for, a couple to go out and to celebrate. And like I said, I'm a Chicagoan. And so it didn't hit me till I left. And I was like, I paid what for a studio apartment? and then just all these little aspects of it like that. Not to mention another thing, which I don't know if people want me to mention, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You can wear whatever you want. I mean, you will walk into one of the nicest places with the best chefs making the best cuisine, and there might be a guy sitting at the table with a Packer jersey on, and nobody gives a damn. And that's just the way it is. It's just, we are here to eat, and we're gonna pay for good food because we love good food, and no one's concerned about what you look like. Just sit down and eat. And so it's that part of it that's just endeared this place to me, that come as you are, eat, let's fellowship and have a good time. Jason, would you agree, or what do you think?
Definitely agree with all that. And I was also going to just add that there's really no standard. We don't really have a standard. Like, you don't hear people like, oh, did you try to, you got to go to Milwaukee to eat. It's normally go to Milwaukee to go to Summerfest or State Fair or something like that. And the most we probably was known for was our brats and cheese. So there's no standard. It's not high of a standard here for cuisine yet, like it is in Chicago. When you go to Chicago, you have to eat. Like, you have to go to Chinatown, you have to go somewhere to eat. I was in South Hyde Park, and probably the best Jamaican food I ever had in my life was at this place called Ja Grill. Like, I loved it so much. I ordered 4 entrees in one sitting. And then I ordered more food to take home on the drive home to Milwaukee. Like, I was blown away by just how different and how much more. It was just like night and day. It was like I felt like a little kid going to an adult, dinner. That's just how exquisite it was. It was something else.
What I love hearing both of you say is the idea that we can celebrate what's amazing and strive for more, but also really just appreciate and welcome one another. And having spent, I grew up here, I spent years and years and years in New York. And when I came back, it was just so good to be home again in a place that feels open and, very collaborative. I think one of the things that I've always been struck by too is just the generosity. And, Jason, you making time for us while your operation is running is a perfect example of that. You're having a conversation with us while you're managing your business. Jennifer, you're here and fielding questions, and Judge, you just got out of court and joined us. And I think that the fact that we're able to talk to one another and really build that conversation around the community table is something I'm so excited about. If you had to throw out kind of a challenge to the Milwaukee community in terms of ways that we can best support you and lift you up, what would you ask us to do?
I would say, I guess there's always a perception of a person before they're able to talk, and I guess almost all of us can be guilty of that sometimes. And I think you should allow a person at least a chance to hold a conversation. You don't really know people until you get to know them, and then you decide, is this somebody that you would like to support or roll with or conversate with. I just think we too much as a people judge a book by its cover, and I think it's time out for that. And I think Milwaukee's doing better than in the past, and I think we're on the way to a better future, and it's gonna take chefs like me, chefs like Jeff, like all of us, like people knowing our relationship, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Building strength in that network and really having those conversations, right, and getting to know one another. Judge, what would you say? Is there something that you think with, all the different places that you've been, and just, I guess, also dealing with some of the things you do as part of your day job, right? Like, how can we be better citizens and support our community in better ways?
Yeah, so, that's the one way I got involved in this food scene in the first place. I just met and I can't stress enough, I brought up Jason as the example, but there's a number of people who I've mentioned Jason and Thomas Hawk and Kurt Fogel and Justin Carlisle, just people who were just so open from the very beginning that you just want them to succeed. I mean, there was no pretentiousness. It was just, hey, we make good food. What do you think about this? You want to try this? Tell me what you really think about it, you know? And there's no pretentiousness. It's just, we just want to make good food. And you want those people to make it. And so it's important to get out and try places. I mean, I know it's probably not the best for my pocketbook to go out as much as I go out, but I know deep down, it's local. They're buying local, they're producing local, and I am actually eating local. And that means a lot to me because it's one community that thrives off each piece. And once one piece is disrupted, it throws off the whole system. So it's important that we patronize those places that are trying to not only improve our palates, but also put Milwaukee on the map with their culinary dishes.
Yeah, definitely. Jen, can I ask you the same question with what you're seeing? Where can we really uplift our community, and especially, you know, folks like Jason who are doing so much to add deliciousness to our lives?
You know, I think life is about multiples. And what I mean by that is if we want to lift up, then when we go visit him and we purchase his food, take a picture of it and post on your social media outlets that, you know, wow, look at this delicious meal that I've gone and just purchased. Lori Friedrich with onmilwaukee.com does a great job with that. I try to do that. But we had lives pre-COVID and pre the racial reckoning that we are all journeying through right now. And so you add those things on top of what were already busy lives with, you know, a certain amount of anxiety and depression and such. And we need to find ways to lift each other. So do that as you can while you're supporting a restaurant. I'm a big fan of Three Brothers, which is a local institution. They're right in my neighborhood. I pick up probably every 2 weeks, and they, on the to-go containers, they write you little love notes. And so I post that. So it's not just to feel good for me that I'm getting a great meal and supporting a business, but also reminding people that these independent restaurateurs are out there and, you know, in the trenches and still trying to support and feed us. They need us to do that. They need us to do that so that they can keep putting one foot in front of another.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Jason, I'm going to come back to you then with a question since Labor Day is coming up. What better time to talk about barbecue? But I know that you've got like a catering menu, right, for family gatherings. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what we might get from you in advance of any kind of cookouts or backyard barbecues or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I've been getting a lot of wedding requests. People still getting married during this time, but they're just inviting lower cost of people. So the catering menu, you can pretty much get anything on a regular menu. We do offer, you know, some other exceptions like sweet potatoes, and because there may be a lot of vegetarians and vegans, but you can get the Texas cut beef ribs, you can get the brisket, you can get the ribs, the tips, the chicken. And honestly, I always ask this person, any type of person calls, I always ask them what their vision is and what they want, because it doesn't necessarily have to be barbecue. Like, I know how to cook pretty much anything. I have a very lengthy background of cuisine that I've cooked, and so I've done I can think, like, I've done so much stuff that didn't have anything to do with barbecue. So it's always up to them what they may decide they want. So
you have such incredible talent and such a diverse background. It's true. I mean, your coleslaw is probably something I dream about, if I'm being completely honest. But actually, on the comment in terms of your skill set, we do have another question from a class member at NEWaukee, and it's a technical question. They want to know if it's difficult to work with such a lean meat like turkey, and if there's, you know, kind of a trick or secret to working to create those burnt ends when you've got a meat like turkey.
So from Derek Mosley's hometown of Chicago, they're known.
Hold on, I gotta take some notes.
It's
Yeah, we
funny.
should.
I just got off a radio interview with Tariq, and he was trying to get my secrets from the turkey tips, and I said I saw it on the Travel Channel, and it was a famous place in Chicago, and I'm like, wait a minute, what is a turkey tip? And so when I saw the actual slab of them, I knew what they did. Off top, I knew what they did, and I could not share that right now because
I just hit record, dang it.
yeah. So I could not share, and I figured it out, and it looks just like a regular pork rib tip. But cooking turkey, and I'll tell you, I do use turkeys with it, but cooking turkey and smoking turkey is one of those things you want to use a technique called spatchcocking. And essentially, you're cutting the backbone off of the turkey, and you're going to open it up like a book. And what you want to do is there should be some extra skin under the turkey leg quarters. Put a little slit in it, put the drummy in there. So basically, you want the thighs to cover the breast. So what that does is that slows the cooking process down with the breast, because that's the first part that's going to be done. But once you do this technique, the legs cook quicker than the breast, and that way you can still end up with a tender, juicy product versus a dried out product.
That is $1 million information right there. You said that spatchcocking is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can put that in the chat for anyone who's curious how you would spell that. But thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's so fun to hear you talk about it, because I think what it really brings home for anyone watching is just, obviously there's this real love for good food, but your technical skill and your knowledge, and you know, again, just to share this with the students watching, these classes you take on costing and portion control, and you know, the business degree that you pursued, all of this is critical, right, to being in a position to hold the power of owning your own business. And really, exactly. So that's amazing. I'm just going to see if there's any questions. Rita, do we have anything coming over from Facebook, or?
We have not, no.
Okay. Well, we're getting close to the time. So really, Jason, what would you like to share with us as kind of a closing thought? And then I'll ask Judge Mosley and Jen to do the same. And where would you like to leave us today?
I would say the culinary is your passion. Continue to pursue it, and find out where you can be great at it, whether it's pastries or whether it's being an executive chef, whether it's being whatever the best you can be in that area. Continue to pursue it. Don't let Corona disturb you or discourage you, I should say, because ultimately people like to eat. People love to eat. That's one thing people will not stop doing, is eating. So I would keep pushing. And you can always use these skills in life. It's always good to have some kind of trade when it comes to life. Having a culinary degree is something that'll help you in sticky situations if you need it.
100%. You can always feed yourself, and you can always stay employed, right? If you have that skill, there's always going to be people who need that. Thank you so much. Judge, what about you? What were some thoughts that you have to leave us with today?
All right, so I guess in a society where everybody tries to point out all of our differences in today's society, no matter what it might be, politics, whatever it is, there's one thing that we all have in common, and that is we need to eat. And as human beings, if we don't eat, we die. So that's the one thing we have in common, definitely, is that we all need to eat. And what a better thing to do than to sit down and eat and fellowship with somebody about life, about what's going on in the world over a great meal. Jen mentioned this earlier about snapping a picture and posting it. And I know people like to give a lot of grief about people who do that, but if I couldn't even begin to tell you how I found out about 75% of the restaurants that I've gone to was from somebody's picture that they posted on social media and said, hey, these are the best, whatever it may be, the best lobster roll, the best, what right now it's like, what are the tacos? What are the different?
Oh, the Bria tacos, yeah.
The Bria tacos. I mean, it's like, where to find the best of each one of these things. And it's because someone took a picture of it, exposed that place, and by exposing it, they got business from me, and then I exposed it, and they got business from me, from through other people. And so fellowship, eat together, celebrate that we have in common, and share what you know with others.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful thought. And Jen.
Wow, man, hard act to follow, but let me try, okay? A couple of things. I want to follow up on what the judge just said. You know, it's been relatively easy to social distance around food and fellowship this summer. And what I would encourage you all to do is, I look towards the fall and the winter. I refuse to be locked up inside and wither on the vine by myself. I am not comfortable being in closed environments with people, but I'm also not comfortable being alone. And so I'm right now looking at my warm weather, my cold weather clothes, and seeing what I've got so that I can continue to be in fellowship outside. You can eat a bowl of chili outside when it's, 25 degrees, right? As long as you're buttoned up. I mean, we go to Packer games. This is Wisconsin, people. Let's find a way to not be separate and out of fellowship and out of kinship with those people who provoke us, who compel us to be better, who inspire us just because winter's coming. We got to get ready for what's right around the corner and be prepared for that. And the other thing that I want to say is along the same lines that the judge said, right, about fellowship, collaborate. Look, if you're a student and you're thinking about what your future is, start now to have a personal board of directors. I have a personal board of directors that I rely on. I have people who I know who are always going to disagree with me. Like, I chose somebody who's a glass half empty kind of a person so that I have to defend those things that I am strongly convicted to. Have people who are going to inspire you, who are going to provoke you, who are going to, I apologize for getting religious, but I love this idea, have pastoral love for you, meaning that they're going to call you out when you need to be called out. They're going to put a timeout sign and say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Maybe think about this, maybe think about that. It's been easy in COVID to have your default position to become singular, right? We've been disengaged from so many human interactions, and we're tired of Zoom, and I get that, but I think the worst thing that we can do, especially heading into the fall when we live in cold climates, is to let our default position to be that of being alone. So make your life as big as you can, and in a way, I don't mean have a party for 50 in your backyard, but there are other ways to be connected to people, and around food. There's no better way to go than to have fellowship around food. And so we have to hang together, find ways to connect around the things that you love.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to thank each of the folks who are on the call with us, all of the people who are participating and watching. I think it's so important that we really take to heart everything that was just said, and we remember and recognize that the distance that we have is something that allows us to build new bridges and create new collaborations. And I'm so grateful to NEWaukee and the Cloud Cafe for the way that they pivoted when we all shut down and created opportunities for us to connect like this. The MKE Food School is dedicated to creating a more inclusive conversation around the community table and getting resources out there and opportunities to connect. I encourage everyone watching to make sure that they get some of the delicious food from Heaven's Table and continue to support folks like Jason, who are just creating amazing, amazing dishes for us to try and celebrate, again, that idea of fellowship that everybody keeps talking about. I have an exceptional leadership team, including Jennifer, including Judge Mosley, who are guiding me in doing some of those things that Jen was just talking about, making sure that we stay true and honest, accountable, and transparent. The MKE Food School is going to continue to celebrate NEWaukee's events, and we'll have some things that we're doing that we'll share outwardly. But I just am so grateful for this opportunity to talk about food with incredible people and to celebrate all of the great things about our city. And with that, Rita, I'll turn it over to you and just thank you again for supporting this initiative, and welcome anyone who wants to follow up just to get in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First off, thank you to Jason and Judge Mosley for being our guests today. What a fun way to end this series. Huge shout out to Andy and Jen once again. It's been so much fun to do this program with you throughout the last few months, and we're sad to see it coming to a close, but it's time to focus on the future. And so we've got some exciting stuff coming up, and if you want to learn about what that might be, you can visit NEWaukee.com. Thank you, all of you, for attending today. We hope you learned a lot, and we will see you soon.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all.